All right, we are back on another edition of the SHU Hockey Podcast. Joining me remotely is SHU alumni of 2020, Jason Cotton. Jason, welcome. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Jason, I wanted to ask you, you are Sacred Heart's most recent alumni, the former captain of the team. You signed your first professional contract with the Carolina Hurricanes just in March. Can you talk about how you first started playing hockey? And playing hockey in Texas is very rare. There's not a lot of ice and snow down there. So how did that come about?
Yeah, it's a great point. The big way kind of me and my brothers got into hockey was with kind of the growth of the Dallas Stars, and they ended up winning the Stanley Cup in 1999. And when that happened, it just created so much love for the game of hockey down there. That's kind of what got me into it personally. Rinks started growing and blossoming everywhere, and that's kind of how, pretty much started for me growing up and playing through youth hockey.
Now, you and your brother, David Cotton, who went to Boston College, are both now signed with the Carolina Hurricanes. Was there a lot of competition with the two of you growing up, playing in high school, juniors, and then playing in college?
Dating to juniors, we didn't really get the opportunity to play against each other. But just growing up, my older brother played as well. We all have that competitive edge inside of us, and we always push each other. And even in training and stuff, we really go at each other and make sure we're getting the best out of one another. But we would always kind of go the extra mile with each other, and just try and just be the best players we can be.
When you were looking at college offers, when did you start getting calls from colleges? Did you have any other Division I offers from Sacred Heart? Did you know you wanted to play hockey moving forward after juniors?
Yeah. So I was actually originally committed to Northeastern, went to Northeastern for a semester. I think I committed there when I was probably 16, 17 years old. Was committed there, played 3 years of junior hockey, went in there when I was 20. It just wasn't a good fit for me there, hockey-wise. So I decided to make the transfer. And then Sacred Heart, the second I visited the campus, met with Scott McDougal. He's the one who's really kind of recruited me from day one, and CJ Maritolo, obviously. And, it just felt like a really good fit for me. And, fast forward 4 years, and obviously forever grateful for the opportunity they gave me to play there.
When you leave Northeastern and go to Sacred Heart, aside from Sacred Heart, were there any other colleges that you were interested in?
Obviously, when you go through the transfer process, it's hard. There's different situations where certain teams, like Northeastern, you leave, they don't want you to go to a rival school. So there are situations where they block you from schools and all that. But for me, it wasn't necessarily the school that I love the most or the most flair. It was where do I feel I'm going to get better the most, and where am I going to get the opportunities to grow as a player. And Sacred Heart was number one on that list. Coach Maritolo from day one told me I'd be a cornerstone player and I was going to get the opportunity to play. And from there, I just knew that this was a place where I had to come. And, it obviously worked out in a great way.
A couple weeks ago, we had on 2017 graduate Justin Danforth, who's now playing in the KHL.
Yep.
What was your relationship like between not just Danforth and Evan Jasper? Because the three of you have their big success at Sacred Heart's program.
Yeah, so Dano and Jazzy were their senior years when I was a redshirt. So I know the rules have changed a little bit now, once you transfer schools, but back when I transferred, you'd have to sit out a season. So for me, that entire year was just about getting bigger, stronger, faster, getting ready for my next season. So I got to watch, that senior class, Dano and Jazzy, obviously, from the stands and the distance, and practice them every day. And me being a freshman at one time coming in, for them to be the seniors on the team and try and, bring the newcomers together. They were great teammates to me, great people. Can't say enough about those guys, and what they have done after school has been a great legacy for the program. But it's very common for every alumni to leave Sacred Heart, and they're just, the one thing you can say is they're great people.
Let's talk about your most recent teammates, the graduating class of 2020. Aside from your success, there was a lot of other players who had success throughout college hockey. Austin McElmurray was the power play goal champion. You had Mike Lee, who was a fantastic defenseman. You had Jordan Kaplan, Vito Bavaro, a lot of guys that we had to say farewell to at season's end. What was it like to play with those guys?
I mean, you can't say enough about this group we had last year. More specifically, Mike Lee, Mac, Vito. I mean, those are guys who, I've played with for several years, not just this freshman, sophomore class last year, but I mean, they've given so much to the program, and where it was 4 years ago to where it was now is just it's crazy just how much this program has grown. Now we're building the new facility soon, and it's just, with CT Ice and just championship, there's just a championship culture there now. And it all starts, from the class before you. What can you do to leave the jersey in the better place? And I mean, that's just kind of what the senior class did last year. I thought we did a really good job bringing in the younger group, and I know the now seniors this year will do the same. But can't say enough about my fellow graduating class.
What I wanted to ask you now was, you had to pass the torch off to Mark Johnstone, who is now the captain of Sacred Heart Hockey, who was your co-captain last year. Were there freshmen that you thought could potentially elevate this program when they got more playing time? Do you feel with the departure of yourself, McElmurray, Lee, Bavaro, Tugna, Kaplan, that this program is going to have success moving forward?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you hear that a lot from any team. The seniors want to say, oh, well, they have big shoes to fill or whatever, but that's just not true. We had so many good players on our team last year. Some guys did not get opportunities. I thought when I was a freshman at Northeastern, I did not get similar opportunities. And so, a lot of players in this program can play. They can produce. They can play different roles. So there's not a doubt that they're going to come in and have success. And it's just all about, getting better every year. And the jumps you take from your freshman to sophomore to senior years and everything in between, as long as you continue to get better and you want to peak at the right time. But there's so much talent in that room, there's no doubt.
A couple of players I wanted to ask you about. I believe he was your line mate for most of the season, and that's now sophomore Braden Tuck. Both Braden Tuck and Yeppe Europe were freshmen last year, and they've played, fantastic hockey from last year and throughout practices and scrimmages this year. What did you like the most about playing with a guy like Braden Tuck, who won Atlantic Hockey Rookie of the Year?
The first thing about is the work ethic and his character. I mean, what he did coming in his freshman season, he put his head down. He gave it everything he had, every single shift. He was a sponge. He asked a ton of questions, and, he was just a great teammate. And again, it matters in the locker room when you have players like that on your team. And he was just such a selfless kid. He just did anything and everything. The coaches asked him, between shifts, so we need to talk about something on the bench. What do we see? He was all ears, and that's really why. I mean, he's going to have. I'm really excited to see what he does next year when Sacred Heart finally gets to go ahead to play.
Moving ahead, we spoke with Coach McDougall on the first ever edition of this podcast, and we asked him about you and after you signed your first professional contract with the Hurricanes. And he mentioned that after your junior season, when the junior season ended after the loss to RIT, you said to them that you were going to sign a pro deal after your time at Sacred Heart ended. What went into that thinking and process to say that I'm going to sign a pro deal?
Yeah, I mean, definitely throughout my 4 years, I had ups and downs, and we had a couple rough seasons early on, and there was a time where I said, I'm going to continue to play hard, but maybe I should look into some internships in finance and see if I have a good backup plan. So I started getting internships, and I had another senior in the Jasper Dano class, Jordan Manello. He worked at Hedgeye, an equity research firm, and I was set up to go there and do a, demanding internship. But before our season ended my junior year, I just felt like I was playing the best hockey of my life. I just felt different on the ice. I just felt like everything was kind of coming together for me as a player. And I knew that if I wanted to take that next step, I couldn't be at the office 12 hours a day, to say the least. And that's kind of when I called the coaches and I said, I'm going to quit my job for the summer, and I really want to, throw everything I have at this summer and be on the ice every day. And if you guys can help me with that, I'm going to come back my senior year and just have the best season I could. And obviously it worked out for the best.
You said you spoke to the coaches about quitting your job for the summer, but what did you tell your parents when you told them that you were not going to work the summer heading into your senior year of college, and you were
Yeah.
going to focus on, hockey, hockey, hockey in preparation of signing your professional deal?
Well, they've always been so supportive of me in hockey, and they just want me to reach the highest level. So for them, I mean, they just want what's best for me and what where I wanted to go, and they were completely supportive of that, obviously. Yeah.
And now fast forward to your senior season, and I
Yeah.
got to be honest with you, this is my third season. I've never seen any college hockey player live do what you did your senior season.
Means a lot. Thank you.
Shorthanded, power play, even strength. I mean, you were all over the place, and it was really fun to watch. Connecticut Ice, you set the world on fire. What was that tournament like for you to play in?
I mean, the biggest thing for me is how, you look at the tournaments like the Bean Pod and the history in that tournament, and I really think that CT Ice can generate that over time. And I think for the group last year that we had, as it continues to grow, to say that we were the first team to win that tournament, it's really special to me. But at the end of the day, to bring a championship for the very first time to Sacred Heart, that just means everything.
You look at the teams that you had to beat to get to where you guys were. And the Connecticut Ice, there's a lot of good college hockey teams. You have Yale, Quinnipiac, and UConn, who produce pretty decent NHL players. And then you have Sacred Heart, which kind of people looked upon as the outlier of the four teams. So you guys knew going in there that you guys had a legit shot to win the whole thing. Do you guys think you shocked the hockey world a little bit?
I think so. I mean, everyone in the room knew what we could do and we were capable of. Obviously, the other teams in that tournament have had more success in the past, but that doesn't mean that they're going to continue to have the success we will have in the future. So we try to focus on us and what we could do to win those two games.
I want to go back a little bit to what we were discussing earlier and the relationship you had not only with Evan Jasper and Justin Danforth, but aside from those players, we've seen Mike Crocox on a professional deal. We've seen most recently Austin McElmurray sign a professional contract. So where the program was when you first started to where it is now, what do you tell a prospective student who's looking at Sacred Heart or a transfer like you did? Because you are not in ordinary Sacred Heart athlete. You had to transfer and sit out a full season, you said. So what was that? What do you say to a new student looking at Sacred Heart?
I mean, sometimes I do think that when you're looking to go to a school, some people get caught up into the prestige of that university, whether that's like a North Dakota or a Penn State or Minnesota. They think that they have to go to a big school like that to get to the professional level. But, I mean, there's scouts everywhere, in every building, every game. If you're good enough, you're going to get an opportunity. And if you can go to a school like Sacred Heart that's on the rise right now and produce and get the opportunity to play, I mean, what else can you ask for?
What would you say is your favorite road, or when you were playing for Sacred Heart, what's your favorite road arena to play in? Now, I wasn't working with you guys at the time. I know you guys went to Notre Dame. I know there's a couple of nice I know Yale has a pretty nice fan base, RIT, the fan base I like. What would you say was the best road experience you've had playing for Sacred Heart?
Out of conference, I would probably say Notre Dame was really cool. We got to experience the Notre Dame hockey atmosphere, and then the USC football versus Notre Dame. That was a great experience. I think in conference, though, I really enjoyed playing on the road against RIT. I don't know why. It's always been a fun place for me to play personally. And obviously we've had our history in the playoffs. My junior year, we had that crazy series where we won 9-4 the first game, lost 7-4 the second game. So I think RIT would probably be my favorite place to play on the road.
Pretty soon, Sacred Heart's going to have that same atmosphere, that RIT had. There's going to be a new arena coming in the fall of 2022. Do you plan on making the trip back to Connecticut to go check that place out?
I want to be in that building when the first game happens for sure. I know I talked to CJ and Scotty and, everyone in the administration. We've seen the blueprint of the rink and, what they want it to be. And I'm just really excited for it to finally be built and kind of walk in there, because there was one time when there's at one point when they were playing out of the Milford Ice Pavilion, and that rink is nothing close to this brand new $60 million facility. So it just kind of shows you how far this program has really come.
Not only have you done successful things on the ice, Sacred Heart Hockey has done a nice successful thing off the ice. Can you talk a little bit about the team impact you guys had last year with Zachary and what that meant to you guys, and what was, pretty much the basics of that?
The thing with Zachary is, it means everything to him and the Schneider family just to be a part of our team. And, for us, we're very fortunate to play a great game and go to college and play hockey, and for us, that's a privilege. And if we can, touch anyone's lives just to, welcome them, it's an honor for us.
Now I want to talk a little bit about the big news that happened in March, aside from the COVID-19 pandemic, but you signed your first professional contract with the Carolina Hurricanes, you and your brother, on the same day. Can you walk us through that process, and when was it clear that you were going to sign a deal? Were there talks in the regular season? Because Sacred Heart season came to an abrupt end in the middle of March, and about 1 week and a half later, you signed your contract. So were there talks throughout the season when this was going to happen?
Yeah, throughout the season, scouts would reach out to me, and the only thing I would say is, here's my agent's number. I don't want to talk to anyone during the season. And that was kind of my mindset, is I want to focus on playing for Sacred Heart this year, and this is where I'm at. That's what I want to worry about. So I didn't even really think of it twice during the season. When the season ended abruptly, it was kind of like a shock at first, because we were gearing up for the playoffs. This is what we played for all season. This is what we worked for all year. So obviously it was hard on every other college team as well. Everyone has felt the same way that, I felt about it. But it kind of picked up as, the week after the season ended, talking to teams with my agent, and, it was a great opportunity for both David and I to go to the same program or the same organization, because, I think for us being able to be with Carolina together, we can really help each other out, slingshot each other. And, we've trained together the past few summers, and we've really took, big steps in our game. So I think Carolina values that as well. But, it kind of came pretty fast. Looking back, it was a great memory, but as soon as it happened, I just kind of wanted to get back to work and get ready for camp.
I don't know if you could talk about this, but were there any other teams aside from Carolina that had interest in you?
Yep. There were a few other teams, but the biggest thing was for me is what position, what place and position would I be in their organization, where am I going to get a good chance, to try and get that next step into the NHL. And to do it alongside my brother is obviously something I wouldn't have thought of.
Who called you on behalf of the Hurricanes organization to officially welcome you to the family?
So, kind of how it went was our agent would kind of go through the team, and then myself and David, we talked to the GM of Carolina, Don Waddell, and then from there we kind of just talked about, where they see us, and, just kind of get to know us a little bit, because obviously, they see us play, but they don't know a lot about us, as outside the rink. And kind of after that, it was, we signed the contract, and then you have everyone from the media, from Carolina to, this player development coaches reaching out, just very, very welcoming, and obviously congratulating us.
Aside from you and your brother signing, did Coach Brindamore call you, text you, email you?
No, I talked to Coach Warsofsky with Chicago, where they used to be Charlotte, and then the GM. But, again, hopefully he's my coach in the future, and I'll talk to him a lot more. But, I'm excited to kind of get into camp and obviously meet the staff, but meet the players and just, try and earn a spot.
How about any players? Did any of the players reach out to you guys?
No, not really. David obviously has been drafted to Carolina, so he's been to development camps before, and he's kind of been through the routine with some players who are there now. So Dave, obviously David's more of a familiar face in the organization. So obviously it'll be easier for me to kind of get to know people since he's already been there as well.
I want to ask you, before your senior season, you had a development camp opportunity with the New York Islanders. What was that like for you?
Yeah, that was another big thing for me is after that year, I really wanted to try and get into a camp somewhere just to kind of get that experience and kind of show what I can do. But going in there, I was just an undrafted kid and there's a lot of really good players there. But the biggest thing for me was just trying to be a sponge and see how the pros really approach it every day. And everything from Barry Trotz to I can't even say his name right now. The GM of the Islanders, player development guys, just talking about what it really takes. And I'll never forget the one thing they said is, just getting to this point, you're in the top 1%, but the people who make it to the next level are in the top half of that 1%. So what are you going to do to get to that next level? Are you going to do the right things every day? Like everyone trains hard, but what do you do away from the rink to get yourself ready for that next training session? So that kind of resonated with me a lot to try and basically do what those half percenters do.
Jason, you've been, fantastic on the show. I really appreciate you coming on. I do just have one or two more questions. The other question I wanted to ask you was, when do you report, to the Hurricanes camp?
Yeah.
And can you give us a little inside scoop on when the season might be beginning for you guys?
Yeah, so we are heading down actually next weekend. So we're going to go down to Raleigh a couple weeks. Camps are supposed to start mid-December. Obviously, the NHLPA is working through some CBA stuff right now, but we can't really know exactly when. All we can do is just prepare and be ready whenever it is. So we're going to go down to Raleigh next weekend, be down there, train there for a couple weeks, and then hopefully camps ramp up and, we get a good 2-week camp in. But I would think the NHL figures it out soon. I know everybody wants to play, so we're hoping to get started sometime in December, and hopefully the season starts in the new year.
Jason, thank you so much for coming on the show. From everybody at SHU Hockey, we wanted to say good luck and congratulations on your contract with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Thanks so much, Will. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.